Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to a moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in the Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Smart Pet Talk. Today we're joined by contributor, podcaster, and regular co-host Anna Devere. Today she is joined by Jacqui Piñol. Jacqui is a full-time actress that you may recognize as Rio Morales in the Spide-Man video game series for Sony PlayStation, the TV series Bosch, and American Horror Story. That's just to name a few. But today, she'll be joining us to chat all about a different passion of hers, dogs. This month, she's releasing The Canine Condition, a documentary series that is grassroots journey around the US to show her audience how to improve the lives of homeless, abandoned, and neglected doggies and investigate the cause of dog homelessness. They're going to join me to chat all about the canine condition, offer solutions, and shine a light on the state of animal shelters across the US today. Welcoming now to the show are Jacqui Piñol and Anna Devere. Welcome, superstars.
Thank
Hey,
you.
thank you. Hi.
So excited to have you on, Jacqui. It's an honor to have you with us today. And I have to say, your devotion towards this particular topic, doggies, is clear, but I know you're also a full time actress. So I'm curious as to what unlocked this passion for canine treatment and homelessness in your time away from the cameras. Can you take us back to the point of inspiration behind your foundation, the Canine Condition, and your upcoming docuseries? What launched you on this heartfelt journey?
Yes, it always takes one dog. And for any animal lovers out there and pet parents, you can probably relate to the first time there was a dog or a cat or sometimes a guinea pig that drives you in a certain direction. And for us, it was a doggy that we found on the streets. And you always go the route of, okay, it must have a home. Somebody's missing this dog. Let's take it to the shelter. Let's see if it could be scanned for a microchip. There's steps that you take to see where we put up signs on local posts in the area. And nobody claimed this dog. So we turned her into the shelter thinking her family would go find her, and they didn't. And after 2 weeks, I kept checking in with the shelter. She's a beautiful Great Dane Pit Bull type dog mix, long, lean, tall. She's just so regal and beautiful. And nobody came to claim her. So the shelter did warn me that according to the rules of the shelter system, and it is, across the United States, when they are full, they have to start euthanizing for space because they can't say no to any more incoming animals. And I didn't know anything about that. So to make the long story short, I said, no way. If nobody comes, can I get her? And they go, you'd have to adopt her. And we weren't ready to adopt. I mean, look, it's a big commitment. You can't it's a family member. You're making a 14, 15-year commitment or more. So we found a rescue organization, found out about fostering, and knowing that a rescue organization will take care of the pet and do the vetting while you take care of the dog until it finds a home. And through that journey, she found her home with us. She had me at hello. And when it was time to do adoptions, we were like, no, she's not going anywhere. And so
this warms my heart. You're amazing, and I love what you're doing. It's so important because statistically, approximately over 3 million dogs enter animal shelters nationwide. This is every year, but only around 2 million of those dogs end up getting adopted. And we all know, just as you highlight, what these animal shelters are about. They're not the greatest or kindest environment. So it's so great to see people like you shining a real light on this and offering solutions. Now, I know Anna has some questions, so I'll hand it off to you, Anna.
Yeah, your story is remarkable. I know we're going to dive into it, but I just kind of wanted to know, after you adopted, it's Dublin, right? The dog. After you adopted Dublin, how did you know, and when did you know you were going to have to do this docuseries? What took you out of just adopting a pet and realizing, okay, we need to highlight this entire situation?
So it was the day I went to pick her up at the shelter. We walked by all the kennels, and it's loud, cacophonous, barking sounds. And there's all these beautiful, souls staring at you, thinking, "Are you coming for me?" And I was going to get her. I was very excited. And as we walked out, and I just still have that like a scene playing in my head, walking out of that shelter, not knowing if all those dogs would get adopted or even make it out ever, right? that was troubling to me. And although we saved her and she has a great life and is now 14 and, a little bit of arthritis and still wobbling around, I couldn't sleep at night sometimes thinking, is this happening everywhere? And I started to look on, how social media prompts you for things. I mean, it's not like, oh, I just happened to come across this. So I must have been so involved in looking at pet things online. And I saw a post from a shelter in Georgia that was over capacity by 200 animals at the time. And they said, if we don't get down to capacity, which is 79, everybody knows what happens. And I thought, oh my goodness. My husband was like, listen, you can't save them all. You can't go adopt them all out and find fosters. Maybe you should do something bigger, something along the lines of what you love to do and are interested in. And I was interested in filmmaking at the time as an actor. And that's what prompted the idea, like, oh my goodness, let's do a documentary. Let's travel around the country. Who's helping these dogs? Let's go film them. And that was
Wow. Well, it seems like this journey has become truly educational for you. And I know that breeder adoptions still outnumber animal shelters, with the American Pet Products Association reporting that like 35% of dogs are purchased from breeders, while 23% of dogs are obtained from an animal shelter or humane society. So while it's so important that prospective dog owners choose to adopt, not shop, and get
Mhm.
these dogs out of shelters, it's also important to improve the living conditions and treatments of these poor animals while they are there. So, seeing all of this firsthand, Jacqui, while you traveled across the country visiting these shelters, were there any things that really stood out to you about the canine condition, or things that surprised you most?
Yes, the one thing is that although we are the United States of America, we are extremely divided on the rules, regulations, and what's okay and not okay in different parts of the country. So I thought I was going in and with a blanket solution of like, hey, what's everyone doing to help these shelters and these animals? And it has to be different. It depends, where you live. Is it a more remote area? Is it a city? What is the funding like? What is the community like? Does the community have even enough resources and funding to help their humans, let alone, the animals? So it's hard, and you really have to go to each community and say, how can we help you? What are your communities or your cities needs? And it's really important for people to go to their city council meetings. I know that sounds so silly, but if we are involved in our city council meetings, we can tell our city councils, this is what we need. Hey, take a look at our local shelter. This is where we're suffering or needing help. And your voice matters. Every individual, wherever you live, your voice really does matter. You just have to use it.
Wow. It's amazing that your work is really aiming to like open hearts and minds to get people to want to get involved. So thanks for all the shout outs. As a pet owner, I can tell you that anytime I've lost a pet and I've had to go to a shelter, I am scared. I know it breaks my heart, just as it did when you first, started this journey. Can you just talk a little bit about your approach and specifically highlighting solutions, so that, rather than just highlighting the negative, and how just focusing on the positive has moved the needle for the canine condition?
Yes, and that was my intention. I wanted to make a documentary series that people wouldn't have to always get Kleenex or say, oh, I can't watch this. It's too hard for me to watch this, which a lot of these animal welfare documentaries and shows can be like. And I don't also want to sugarcoat it and tell you that it's all pretty and fluffy and it's, always a smile on your face. But it's more about, hey, it's worth me just having a tiny uncomfortable moment to make a positive impact in the long run, right? So sometimes I just say, if you can't go into a shelter, connect with a rescue organization that has volunteers that do go to shelters. And then maybe you can be on the other end. You don't have to visit the actual shelter, but you can bring any food, blankets, treats, leashes, collars, even used things that they can use for the dogs they're pulling from the shelter. You can share their dogs on your social media pages, which is really easy because then they get exposed to more eyes and ears that may be looking for that specific animal. And if you do have it in you to visit a shelter, you can literally, without even being a registered volunteer, go with your iPhone or your Samsung, whatever you use, I don't even know, your mobile phone, and videotape the dogs and show them on your own social media and say, hey, you can find this doggy at blah, blah, blah shelter. And you can see their kennel card with the number, and people will know where and how to find that specific animal.
Well, I know it's obviously easier for those who aren't pet parents to remain in the dark about the state of our animal shelters, but for these individuals or those who just aren't ready for the full-time commitment of adoption, what are some ways that people can help their local shelter or nonprofit animal rescue organizations outside of physically going there and filming the dogs and making this somewhat of a task, if you will? Are there any other recommendations you have?
I would say the two most important ones, if you're in a position to donate, and I really want to stress that donations could be as little as $5. Because imagine if everyone on your block gave $5 to your local shelter and there's 30 homes, you know what I mean? That is a lot of money. That buys a lot of dog food because the shelters also get it at a discounted price. So you're talking about many, many pounds of dog food that could be purchased for the shelter. So those small donations, or you could do like a donation pool at work. Maybe if you work in an office environment, and you could do, hey guys, I'm going to put out a jar by Friday. Let's see how much money you guys can, if you guys have change from, your coffee or your weekly purchase of whatever, throw it in the jar. Let's see, and then donate that to your local shelter or to a nonprofit organization that's foster based, where, if you follow anyone on social media, we are constantly recommending organizations that adopt out dogs because we like to vet them around the country and let you know, hey, they really are doing the good work and your money is going where they say it's going. So we're another resource at the Canine Condition where people can ask and say, hey, should I be supporting this? Is this a good one? Or are they doing the work? And we can tell you.
That's beautiful. For anybody that's on the fence, I'm also blown away by how our animals seem to rescue us and not the other way around. And I know that your docuseries features some human transformations. Can you share anything that you witnessed during the show that really warmed your heart about human transformations?
Oh gosh, and it's so moving. It's so touching. There's a lovely lady who I met. She lived in New Jersey. Her husband was working in Georgia, and he was training at a gym, and unfortunately he was killed. It was a very tragic accident. In that time, one of the families that used to go to this gym and be trained by him found a dog, and he was a little pit bull, mini kind of pit bull, blue nose, beautiful type dog. And he had heartworm. He needed to be neutered, all the stuff. I just happened to come across her because it was the town I had been in to film. And I said, let me sponsor that dog. Let's heal him from heartworm. Let's neuter him. Let's do his vetting. And I just did that out of pocket. I was not a foundation at the time. And the man's wife flew down, obviously for the services, for everything. It was and she said, I want to adopt that dog because he knew about the dog and he loved the dog, and they found a bond. And it was like an extension of having a piece of him where he was and she took Bojo back to New Jersey, and he's a beautiful dog. And I love this lady, Sharon. She's wonderful. And it just meant a lot to me. Dogs really do heal hearts. They help you get through tough times. And I saw a lot of that on the journey.
Such a beautiful story. Now, we have less than a minute left. Let's talk about your foundation. I understand that today marks an anniversary for you. So after a decade of diving deep into this subject and witnessing many organizations firsthand, where does your nonprofit fit into the bigger picture?
So after having done the documentary, I realized that one of the number one ways to find a solution to the overpopulation of neglected, abandoned dogs, or to prevent more of that abandonment, is to spay and neuter your pets. To keep them vaccinated and microchipped so that if they get lost, it's easy to scan them and be registered to their owner so that you know where to take them home. And so my foundation focuses on raising funds and paying for the spay, neuter, vaccinations, and microchips for family-owned pets. Anyone who can't afford it or needs some and not all the assistance, you are welcome. We will say yes. We will make it happen no matter where you are in the United States. We'll find a vet near that family's home, or we have clinic days where we do 35 to 40 pets at a time, and we get it done. I think it's really important because we're preventing thousands upon thousands of litters that people don't want, sometimes accidental litters, or can't afford it. they do want their pets spayed and neutered. So we're trying to just provide more resources and access to that. So that's what we're about now.
I love it. Well, we are at the end of this interview officially. Thank you so much for coming on, Jacqui. And I truly admire what you're doing. I know Anna does too. We're both in awe because offering solutions like spaying and neutering and acting preventatively and getting ahead of the problem like your organization does is extremely important. And I know that due to the overpopulation of shelters each year, approximately 950,000 shelter animals are euthanized, 390,000 of them being dogs. And that's where my heart shambles into a million pieces. So you're really doing great work from within with your foundation and continuing to educate people with the help of your new docuseries. Thank you so much for coming on. And Anna, thank you so much for bringing her to the show.
Yeah, thank you for following your heart, Jacqui. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. And to everyone out there, go find a soul that you can help out there of the canine condition.
That was Discover Your Potential segment brought to you by Smart Pet Talk, and that was the incredible Jacqui Piñol. Definitely be sure to tune in to every episode on her docuseries. You don't want to miss it. It's extremely, extremely touching. Check her foundation out at thecaninecondition.org and on the gram at the Canine Condition. And you can also check her out personally on the gram at Jacqui Piñol. And of course, you can see more of Anna at discoveryourpotentialshow.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.